President Biden is facing mixed reactions from lawmakers in Congress after the military shot down a Chinese balloon spotted flying over the U.S. On Face the Nation, Senator Ted Cruz applauded the president's decision to take down the balloon, but criticized his response time.
I want to start by doing something that I don't do very often, which is commending Joe Biden for actually having the guts to shoot this down. That was the right thing to do. That is absolutely what the president should have done. Unfortunately, he didn't do that until a week after it entered U.S. airspace.
So for more on this, I want to bring in CBS News Chief White House Correspondent Nancy Cordes. Nancy, thanks for joining us to talk about this. There's been a lot of sort of division in Congress about the Biden administration's response to this Chinese balloon situation. This is not the first time. We've since learned that this is not the first time a balloon like this has ventured into U.S. airspace. It happened with previous administrations as well. Can you talk about kind of the arguments that we're hearing on both sides? What Republicans who are being critical of the president are saying, and how the president's defending himself?
Sure. So the Republican criticism is pretty similar to that soundbite that you just played from Ted Cruz. Essentially, it was the right thing to do to shoot this balloon down. Why didn't the president do it sooner, either when the balloon was over the continental U.S. or perhaps even before the balloon got over Alaska a week ago when it was still hovering over the Pacific Ocean? So this is a critique that is not entirely unexpected. Republicans were making this argument even before the shoot down on Saturday. Basically, what is the president waiting for? All weekend long, the White House has been arguing very strenuously that what he was waiting for was for the Pentagon to go ahead and shoot this balloon down at a time that they believed would be safest, which is when the balloon was over the Atlantic Ocean and not over land, where parts of this balloon could fall and injure people, particularly parts of the payload that you can see dangling from the balloon itself. But also, the White House argues that they were able to gather good intelligence about the balloon by continuing to track it as it went over the U.S. And also that when it was struck by a surface-to-air missile on Saturday afternoon, it came down and created a 7-mile debris field, and they argue that it's going to be a lot easier to gather the pieces of this balloon and analyze them than had those pieces impacted a 7-mile swath of the United States. So that's the argument that is taking place. It's interesting, and Marina, you mentioned the fact that this has happened during previous administrations. What the White House is now saying is that it happened 3 times during the Trump administration that a Chinese balloon, similar balloon, went across at least part of the United States. But this is interesting. They say that most Trump officials didn't know it at the time, that it was only learned after the Trump administration ended. We're not quite sure exactly why that would be, but they're now offering to provide briefings to some of the former Trump officials who are criticizing them to basically fill them in on what exactly happened during the Trump years.
Very interesting. Of course, this is coming not on the eve of the State of the Union address, but, shortly before the State of the Union address. Is there an expectation that this may come up in the address or the response?
I have a feeling that there were some edits being made to that speech over the weekend. The president huddling with some of his top advisors at Camp David. Certainly, they're going to be looking for some more robust language when it comes to China than they might have been otherwise. In fact, before this, the president was really trying to turn the page when it came to the China relationship. You remember he held that long-anticipated meeting with Chinese President Xi back in November in Bali. They were creating these working groups to try to kind of get over some of the tension that existed in a variety of areas. And now this has obviously set all that back. The White House called off a trip by the Secretary of State to China at the same time the Chinese are attacking the U.S., calling this an indiscriminate use of force. So it looks like those tensions are, if anything, ratcheting up again.
Indeed. And meantime, there's going to be a potential Gang of 8 bipartisan briefing on this balloon incident. What do we know about that?
So we know that the Gang of Eight has been briefed once already, at least once, and we know that the full Senate is actually going to be getting a classified briefing this week about China's spying capabilities. This has obviously raised a great deal of alarm among members of Congress. The fact that China felt comfortable doing this in the first place, even though China continues to insist that this was somehow a weather balloon that got blown off course. And members of Congress want a lot more information.
I'm sure they do. Nancy Cordes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.